It's been over a week since Season 8 launched in Marvel Rivals, and boy, Devil Dino is the strongest tank I've ever seen on release. With only a few bad matchups, it really seems like this should be a win for tank players all around. But what's this hollow feeling I feel within whenever I play or see this Devil Dino character? The Marvel Rivals devs had a clear goal in mind when designing this character. They wanted to make a tank viable in more scenarios while also encouraging a more aggressive brawl-like playstyle without just giving them a huge shield. Devil Dino was intended to be a tank that created space via presence rather than through their barrier. He was released alongside HP pool buffs to tanks like Thing, and this was due to non-shield tanks evaporating in a split second in higher elo lobbies. They viewed Devil Dino's bloated stats as a necessity to ensure brawl tanks are playable while poke damage is high. They added the 50% ult charge passive to dissuade a goats meta where healing and sustain are so high that no one ever dies, instead relying on extreme burst damage and CC in hopes that the CC chain or instant death would keep the infinite sustain meta from taking hold. As a wise man once said, if you're planning to play tank, play Devil Dinosaur. If you're planning to nerf heals, more buffs to Luna Snow. If you're planning for poke nerfs, buff Star-Lord, buff Phoenix. Confucius. The problem with designing Devil Dinosaur in this way is that it doesn't actually address any of the underlying problems that many players in this game face. In fact, it only exacerbates and prolongs these underlying problems. It's like putting flex tape on a leaking bathtub. Sure, it fixes it for the time being, but eventually you are gonna have to fix that bathtub. That's why I think people shouldn't be pointing their finger at the giant red dinosaur. He's merely a symptom of the underlying disease in Marvel Rivals. Prior to Devil Dino, if you wanted to survive poke as tank, you'd need to either coordinated dive onto their backline to prevent the healing onto their DPS and pray that your DPS kill them faster, have a big infinite HP shield in the face of those poke DPS and try to outpoke them, or just have better healers and try to out-heal the poke. If you're a Thing into 3 poke DPS, your supports are probably working overtime to keep you up. This is not the tank being good, it's just the supports out-healing the poke damage. With all these factors, it's no wonder why a lot of these tank players are complaining or leaving the game entirely. Devil Dinosaur's NetEase's response to all of these complaints. However, that's not to say that Devil Dinosaur isn't designed with a fair share of problems. He's designed in a way where he requires even more support resources. So, off supports like Ultron, Atom, and Mantis are not very functional unless 3 supports are being run, making the already good supports even stronger. Stuff like Gambit, Rocket, Luna, Invis, and Cloak. Due to this, triple support Devil Dinosaur is a very common and effective no-brain tactic that's ran in a lot of stale ranked games. His grab makes it miserable for any tank to play the game into him. Being able to instant CC and bubble off a target to be bursted is just very strong. Tanks are especially vulnerable to this due to their positioning in front of their team. His large HP pool makes it so that only the percent HP DPS or the already high damaging burst DPS are good into him and with him. Stuff like Punisher, Wolverine, Phoenix, and Elsa, Hela, Star-Lord, and Bucky, while other brawling DPS like Blade and Mr. Fantastic are just not that playable into him. The Devil Dino mirror stinks, man. I swear to God, this is the worst mirror matchup I've ever seen in Marvel Rivals. There's no room for creativity, and I swear to God, it's literally just whichever team has more resources poured into the dino. It's Malga meta in Overwatch all over again. Because of Devil Dino's grab with his bite, whenever he grabs, the team has a 2-second window to basically try and burst the other Devil Dino while he is grabbed in the Devil Dino's bubble. Due to this, the Devil Dino mirror heavily favors high burst, high healing output DPS and supports, while also being a resource sink for both teams, because whichever dinosaur wins this Devil Dino mirror just ends up running over the rest of the enemy team. And for some reason, Devil Dino's bite also just ignores all previous logic. Like, make it make sense, man. Devil Dino and Thing share the same immovable passive. That means most things in this game can't move them, except for, guess what? Devil Dino Bite, man. Why can he pick up himself? I don't know. Why can he pick up thing? I don't know. If there's one thing that I would want Guang Guang or NetEase to take away from this, is that Devil Dino should not be able to grab Devil Dino or thing. This would make the Devil Dino mirror so much better. It's not even close. Hey, if you guys are enjoying this video so far, please make sure to like and subscribe. It doesn't really cost you a lot and it helps me out a ton. Thank you. Now back to the video. Marvel Rivals has a mathematical arms race problem. Healing, tankiness, and burst damage have all been inflated so high to counter each other that traditional sustained gameplay is no longer mathematically viable. If we look at the top DPS currently in Celestial and above, we can see that 8 of them have high burst potential, 5 of them have invulnerability frames, and the top 6 all have self-shield gen. 7, maybe even 8 of them also have high mobility. This is proof of the burst or bust meta in Marvel Rivals. When 8 of the top DPS rely on high burst potential, it means that the player base has universally realized that consistent damage is a waste of time. If you shoot someone for 3 seconds, an enemy support will probably instantly undo it. The only way to actually kill someone is to bypass the healing economy entirely by deleting the target's health bar in a single second. In a healthy hero shooter, a DPS relies on their tank to make space and absorb cooldowns. But because the baseline damage of a Celestial lobby is so hyperinflated, tanks are too busy fighting for their own lives to heal for anyone else. As a result, DPS characters have evolved to bring their own damage mitigation. If 6 of them have self-shields and 5 of them have literal invulnerability buttons, they're operating as completely independent server admins who can face tank damage that would normally kill them. In a game where the time to kill is binary, meaning you either take 0 damage or die instantly, positioning is a knife's edge. High mobility combined with invulnerability frames means that these characters have ultimate agency. They can take hyper-aggressive, greedy angles to secure their burst damage one-shots. And the moment that they make a mechanical mistake, they can instantly hit a panic button and dash out of the crossfire for free. We've reached a point where squishy damage dealers have more invulnerability frames than an average Dark Souls character. For supports, it's more or less the same story. The top supports right now are those that give more burst damage, like Rocket, Gambit, Mantis, Luna, and Ultron, while the other top supports are those with absurd healing numbers or with abilities that just straight up ignore or block damage entirely. Adam Warlock and White Fox are both in a unique situation where their damage and utility doesn't make up for the lack of healing inflation in their kits. This is also why Cloak is near the bottom, because unlike other supports, she is more prone to getting bursted in her ultimate. Most optimal way to heal your team right now is just to help them murder the enemy tank faster. If we look at the top tanks currently, the best ones are the ones with a lot of staying power and tankiness while also having a lot of ultimate utility for the team. They have to be either a giant macro battery or a fat assassin. For example, Cap's ult charges everyone's ult faster while also sustaining the team, while Rogue's ult can swing the ult with economy in your team's favor. We've reached a point where making space just means surviving long enough for your team to press their ultimate buttons. Other tanks keep up by having a lot of burst potential. Penny Mines, Venom ult combo, Groot Grab, Hulk ult, Thor ult, Angela ult. All of these ults are setup ults that don't cost a ton while also having great neutral game and staying power for the team. Venom is now currently a Chungus DPS that just so happens to be a tank. If your tank can't completely manipulate the game's economy or instantly delete someone from the server while also having a lot of staying power, you don't have a tank, you just have a liability. So what can we do to drag ourselves out of this boom or bust quagmire? The game needs a simultaneous global reduction in both burst damage and burst healing. You have to lower the mathematical ceiling so that players are forced to engage in actual combat loops rather than just trading instant delete buttons. If a Blade player is on a target for more than 10 seconds, that sustained damage needs to stick. By removing the instant healing spikes, consistent mechanical aim or consistent damage becomes the primary currency of the game again. DPS characters must lose their tank privileges. The invulnerability frames, extreme mobility resets, and self-generating shields needs to be violently nerfed. A high lethality character should not have the survivability of a frontline brawler. If a DPS takes an aggressive and greedy angle to secure a kill, they need to be punishable. Stripping these safety nets forces DPS players to actually play behind their tanks again, instantly restoring the tank's core job of managing space. Once the extreme hit scan burst is removed from the lobby, tanks no longer need a phone number for a health pool just to survive. The developers can deflate the massive shields and bloated HP bars of tanks like Devil Dino and Venom. Tanks can go back to being dynamic, active participants in the fight who use cooldowns to block key abilities rather than just serving as a massive prehistoric alt-charge battery.